lightning, something you don't know. You need a little enlightening, it'll make you grow.
Hey guys, happy evening, happy Sunday evening. Today we have a new friend joining on this platform. Her name is Arthi Mangalam Jayaraj. Arthi is a specialist with almost 17 years of experience in HR, learning and development, a strategist who has been behind the employees and the management to ensure that they are aligned to the goals of the organization. She is a coach, she is a mentor, and she is a behavioral specialist, and her brand is called Learning Advantage. So thanks a lot, Arthi, for joining us on this particular show today.
Hi, Ravi. Thank you so much for having me today. It's my pleasure, totally.
Okay, so Arthi, friends on this particular platform would love to know about you. Where is Arthi from? Before we get into what you do, we want to know you really well.
Sure. So I've been born and brought up in Chennai. Chennai has been my, base for about 42 years now. I've lived in Chennai. I did my graduation in BA Corporateship, went on to do a post-graduation in Mass Communication and Journalism, which was in Kodaikanal. And I think those 2 years were absolute bliss. We did everything but study, so that was why it was a special couple of years. And then I joined the workforce, but because of my interest and because of what I was doing at work, I went on to do a master's in linguistics, in psychology, as well as literature. I've done a diploma in criminal psychology.
Wow.
I think all these crime novels, the Who Done It, and all the crime shows on TV spurred me to do that particular course. And currently, I'm pursuing my PhD. Learning has always been a part of my life for the sheer joy of knowing something rather than looking at it as a degree or looking at it as a way to get on in my career. And in addition to it, I love traveling, though I don't get to travel very much. That's something I always love to do. I love reading a lot of books. I'm on the path of authoring one of my own books, which is a compilation of short stories. And I'm an avid public speaker. I'm a part of Toastmasters, which has started me on that journey towards becoming a motivational speaker, which has always been an area of interest. I think it's just that I love the crowd, being with people, and I love interacting with them, and that's why I've gotten into that area.
Super. So, did psychology help you in any of your activities in your career?
I think it was the other way around. My curiosity towards people, trying to understand why someone behaved in a certain fashion, was what made me study psychology. I had already begun observing people, trying to understand what motivated them or what spurred them into a particular action. Now, the knowledge which I had, which was more practical, I wanted to compartmentalize it under a particular heading, say, this is the reason for their behavior. So unlike most people where you get the theory and then move into the practical aspect, for me, it was the other way around. I loved observing people, and then I did a course. And yes, now it helps me a lot because instead of talking about my gut feeling, I'm able to put it under a particular technique or a methodology and help people overcome certain challenges. That's where it has helped me a lot.
Super. So another secret which most of the people may be on social media not aware of it. So Arthi is single, and even which is a most J moment for a lot of people out there. Both women and men. Nowadays are like, oh, you're single. You're like, you're so you've got so much of freedom in life. So we'll get on to that as to how's that's been, and most importantly, even being single. You have adopted a girl child. So, do you want to talk a bit about that? Because that's really awesome. Something which I think somebody who's hotcake can do that particular stuff.
I don't know. I've always loved kids. If there was a family get together, I would rather be with children or with the elderly in the group. You would never see me hanging out with my age people. I have no idea why, but that's how I've always been. And I think there is this want for sharing, right? So somehow I wanted to share, whether it be an experience or whatever little knowledge I have gathered. I wanted to share it with someone. And that's where I've always thought, a child of my own is where I could have that bonding. Marriage, to be honest, I believe in love marriage. Yes, like everyone wanted to fall in love, typical Shah Rukh Khan types, and get married, and like what you in the movies. Didn't happen. Life treated me very differently. So I was like, I'm okay. I said, I'm okay with not getting married, but I wanted the child. So that's when I said, I am going to adopt. And what was beautiful about the moment was, there's a lot of stigma which you see in the society, or which you hear about in the society, about being single and adopting a child. And for me, be it my mother, I lost my dad when I spoke about this decision to my family. So it was my mom and me who had to take that decision. I'm a single child, by the way. So be it my mother who had to say yes, or my grandmother who I thought could say no because of the tradition that she's coming from, my friends and family, whoever I approach saying, this is my decision, I want to go ahead with it, or this is my decision, I am going ahead with it. They were awesome in terms of support. Not even one person said don't.
Super.
I did caution. I got advices like, you go for a child from Tamil Nadu, go for a child, probably go for a boy and not a girl. So many advices I got, but overall the support I got was positive. I was quite worried about the child probably being not treated equally in the society. But to my amazement, I think I am God gifted to get a child like her who's so loving, and the society to have accepted her completely. The society has changed so much than what we thought it was. And that way, it's been an absolute joy. It's been an absolute wonderful experience for me in life. The best decision I think I would have made.
So how did that dream or decision of yours that you want to adopt practically happen? Because it's a long process, and there are a lot of ifs and buts, a lot of regulations, a lot of policies. So how did you manage to get through all that?
Again, I do believe in the divine intervention, and there I think there was a hand that was guiding me completely. I spoke to my parents. I knew that we had a site called Kara where we had to go ahead and register. So I started my registration process. Like any process that you start, the paperwork kills you. The paperwork kills you. I'm supposed to get a certificate from the police. We are supposed to get 3 references. And I'm also supposed to get someone to promise that in case I die, they would take care of the child, which is a conversation that most people don't want to have with you. So the paperwork was a little daunting. And then once you finish the paperwork from the government, you have someone who'd come home, do a complete study of whether you are capable of taking care of a child. A lot of psychological questions were asked. The person who came home got into nitty-gritties as to how many hospitals are close by, how many schools are close by, how would you discipline your child. I was surprised at the depth in which we always think, our government is not doing a great job. There's too much of bureaucracy. But here I was quite shocked and surprised with the details of the questions. After which they said, go ahead, you'll have a wait period, and then you will get a choice of a child. They'll show the photograph with the details. You decide, click yes, then you could go and see the child in person and then do a medical fitness. All said and done, I think I was selfish enough. I was not willing to have a child who would have health issues. I don't think I could have gone through it. Maybe I'm not mature enough. So I wanted to have a child who was physically fit, and I insisted on that. So they said you could do a complete medical test. The only challenge was I had applied for a child from Tamil Nadu, 0 to 2 years of age, where my coordinator called and said, you wait for someone from Tamil Nadu, you will take at least another 2 years to get a child.
Oh my God.
All over to India. And he said, since you're going for a toddler, you're not going to have a language as a huge barrier. So then I said all over India, and I think from somewhere around 500, which was a waiting list, I suddenly came down to about 110 or 112. And one fine day, I was there inside a meeting with my boss. As usual, you're not happy with a meeting with your boss. So there I was. I always leave my mobile phone at my desk. I don't take it to a meeting. So there I left my mobile phone, finished the meeting and came out, had a cup of coffee, switched on, and I saw an SMS saying, you have a child in waiting. Here is the link, and click. I clicked the link. I saw the child's photo. To be honest, I didn't even know whether I should say yes or not. I was absolutely blank. I sent a message to my mother saying, Mom, this is the child they have shared. Can we go ahead? My mom said yes. Now the child is in Orissa. Immediately, I applied for 2 weeks of leave. I went ahead and booked train tickets. I couldn't get flight tickets then, so I booked train tickets. We went all the way to Orissa. And during the travel, I asked my Mom, do you think I'm taking the right decision? And I think I got a earful from her saying, is this when you will ask this question? But yes, I was not too sure I was ready because I thought I'll get the child only like in April 2018, but this happened in December 2017. So compared to what I had expected, this was about 4 months earlier. I went, we booked into a hotel, all that happened. I saw the child the next morning and she was crawling. The person there said her name is Preeti. From the other room, I just called out Preeti. She stopped crawling and turned and smiled.
Wow.
And I think I just fell there. I was completely floored. I still can't explain my emotions. If you want me to put it in words, it will never happen in my entire life. Then we did the formalities. We had to sign some papers. We had to pay a fee. For the entire process. Then they said, the paper has to go to the court and come back to you. Please come the second day and we'll give the child to you.
Okay.
To the hotel, spend the whole night. My mom and I were talking till like, I think 3 a.m. in the morning. We couldn't wait for the day. We brought the child from the, home to the hotel. We said, we'll wait for 1 day because a child might miss the place and start crying and all that. We were quite scared. What if she starts crying? How are we going to handle it? And for my mom, after 39 years, okay, here is a child. She's seeing me and then she's seeing this child. So both of us felt quite inadequate in taking care of her. She never cried. I mean, yes, she cried for food and those kind of things, but she never like missed the place and all that. It was not like we couldn't handle. She was playing with us, happily laughing. And the next day we booked a flight ticket from Bhubaneswar to Chennai. And throughout the flight, now I was worried. First time on flight for the child. Is she going to have a nosebleed? Is she going to have a ear bleed? Is she going to start crying? All the worst case scenarios is what I was thinking. I bought a box of cashews. It was a SpiceJet flight. The box of cashews were like bright green and yellow in color. Throughout the journey, with just that one box, she was playing, giggling, happy without a cry. We reached Chennai. So she's been a very happy child, I think that way I'm blessed. All the fear that I had about how do I manage the child, what will happen, how do I take care of her, all that, I think just divine intervention. There's no other response to it. And from the day she's come home, she's lit up my place.
So can we call it the first love for you? The moment you saw and fell in love, oh, Shah Rukh Khan ka style छोड़ के, this particular thing, just her smile and stopping and looking at you. I think that's like falling in love for the first time.
I maybe everlasting love, because I do have a few first loves, as we would typically call it. But here it was I was okay in what I would technically call as unconditional. I didn't know what to expect, but there I was willing to give it all. And we've had our moments of joy. Like a couple of days back, I hurt my hand, it was bleeding. And she forgot about it. But in the night when we just went to bed, she saw my hand and she started crying. Someone who cries when you're hurt, I think that's what, unconditional love is all about. And I'm really enjoying this.
Truly blessed. Truly blessed. So she was months old. Now she is around 4 years
She
old.
was 7 months. She's born on 25th of May 2017. So she was 7 months when I had her. So she's turning 4 this May 25th.
Okay. You've retained the name as Preeti, or did you change?
Well, I had dreamt of naming her Smita. So I had this name Smita in my mind. And it all filled all the forms saying Smita, Smita, Smita. But the first time when I called her Preeti and she turned, I just cannot call her anything but Preeti. So I still keep calling her Preeti. While her school, I put her in play school and she's attending online classes. So don't hate me for that, but that's the reality. Her class teacher is the only one who keeps calling her Smita, but I call her Preeti only.
Super. So, I think, this is something very, very few can do it. And, adapting people and letting them grow, giving them a lifestyle which they wouldn't have got otherwise. I'm sure the government and those homes definitely take care of that, but this is definitely a new life for both of you. So how is life after she coming into this thing?
If I could just share something before that, and then if I could answer your question. There are two things I want to share. When I'd gone to adopt Preeti, there was another child standing at the doorway, stopping me. Her name was Sweetie. She stopped and she asked me a multitude of questions. And she was smiling. She must be about 4.5 at that point of time. Literally, the smile that lights up someone's face, that was the smile that she had. But she didn't have a hand.
Oh.
As a child, when she was abandoned, I think some animals had attacked her and she lost her hand. But that she didn't care about it. She was so happy, and I believe she's been adopted by a couple from the US, and she was traveling to US a week later. She was joyous, not because she was getting adopted. She was happy that this child was getting adopted. And she was like, wow, this girl is going to have a wonderful life and all that. And that positivity, in fact, stuck a chord in me. With so much that we have, will still keep cribbing. And here is a child being happy that the other child is being adopted. And I think if we could just take one lesson from that, life would definitely be a beautiful place. And on the other hand, after I talk about adoption, it's not because I've done something great. To be honest, adopting the child has been the most selfish decision I could have taken in my entire life. I wanted someone to love. I wanted to share my knowledge. I wanted to give something to someone, and that's why I adopted. It's not about the other way around. It's a very selfish decision. But a lot of people have asked me about adoption after I did this. I took this step. People have a wrong impression about the process and the bureaucracy that's involved. For me, the entire journey had been extremely smooth. Yes, we all hate waiting, whether it is 10 months, since you conceive a child, or the same 10 months I had to wait since I applied for the child. We hate waiting. The initial, I think, 1.5 months, we could not talk about anything but just this. What do I do when the child comes? What kind of a party do I throw for the child? So this is what we were talking. And slowly I was a little irritated and said, let it happen when it happened. And least when I expected, in a matter of about 8 days, I had the baby in hand. The government's process is solid. They do a thorough checking so that the child's safety is taken care of. And as a parent, they treat you with respect. In fact, when I went to the police station to get the no objection certificate, they looked at me as something special. They made sure I had a chair to sit and they offered me tea. The writer that advised me to get married and not adopt, rather get married and adopt. In India, we love free advices. In spite of it, people treated you nice. It's not a terrible process. You need to wait, and people around you are willing to help. I would like to do something to take that stigma from the entire process, and that's why I wanted to share this.
Super. And you're right. It is worth the waiting period, and it is worth this. The process being tough, because the kid has to get into the right hands. And the government has to ensure that the baby is taken care of. So good one, Arthi. So now talking about your services. So what are the USPs? Like, you're a mentor, you're a motivational speaker. So who are the people who get in touch with you, and what sort of magic Arthi does to take care of those issues and aligning, especially with L&D and ensuring that the organization is in the right place along with the team. So what interventions does Arthi do?
I started off as a voice and accent trainer, and I think I would love to carry that brand across, because there was a time in my second standard, early stages, and when I was in school, if you went for tuition, you're a dull student. People will look down upon you. And there I was in second standard. I still don't remember the teacher's name. I call her my 2A miss, who I would like to pay respect using this platform as such. So she called my parents and said, Arthi is a brilliant student. She's doing excellent in studies, but she's not communicating. She doesn't have friends. The reason being, she's not able to communicate in English. So please bring her home for tuitions. And I went for tuitions for 3 months. And in the 3-month period, I'll be at her house for about 1 hour. doing nothing but talking to her and her kids in English. She had a son who was maybe about in college and a daughter who was in high school. And I had to only keep answering questions and having a conversation. I hated those 3 months. And that helped me, reach this stage where I started my career as a voice and accent trainer just because I could speak good English. And once I became a voice and accent trainer, I learned the techniques and the methodologies involved. Again, I had a fantastic guru in the name of John Roberts, who's no more. But he was my guru who would never tell me what to do. He would go and say, find and come back. So I started doing a lot of research, and that made sure that my foundation was quite solid. I learned a lot from that experience. And then I moved into soft skills and behavioral training because I found the human mind quite fascinating. So all this knowledge has culminated into me doing a lot of leadership workshops right now. So I focus on situational leadership, negotiation, conflict management, where a lot of human psychology is involved. I'm also a certified DISC assessor and an NLP trainer. So I don't use any of these methodologies as a standalone. I don't train people on DISC. But using DISC, if I can go ahead and coach you to become a better manager, coach you to become a better leader or a better salesperson, that is where I focus on. Similarly, when you're talking about NLP, I don't train people on NLP, but I take a technique from NLP and use that to help you overcome your stage fear. If you want to improve your confidence in a particular field, or let's say you have a phobia, use NLP as a technique to overcome that phobia rather than talk about NLP as a subject. And as a coach or mentor, I keep it aside for my Toastmasters journey. Again, another beautiful experience in my life, which has made me what I am. Coaching is more about organizational development coaching. So we take on a OD problem. Based on the OD problem, we identify people who will be able to handle that issue. And we kind of coach them through the entire journey in identifying a solution by themselves, making sure they set a goal and they are able to reach the goal, and what the process is to improve themselves to help them reach the goal. This is the journey in a nutshell.
Super. Best compliments that you've received during your professional journey?
Crazy compliment, rather. I was doing a time management workshop in one of my initial days of work, and a neighbor of mine who I seen as a child was working in the same company. She would call me Akka or Didi in Hindi, right? So she was in that session at the end of the workshop, and we normally travel home together. So she comes to me and says, Akka, I've decided that I'm going to tell my parents that I'm in love and get married. This is all because of your session. I'm like, what? I'm talking about time management and you're talking about getting married. For her, I think in the session, what mattered was don't waste time. You can never get back. Certain things have to be done at that particular time. And that's the lesson that she realized. And she did go on to talk to her parents and get married. Another living case was someone who joined me as a trainee for voice and accent. And he put in a hard work. At the end of 2 years, I saw him in another organization as a trainer himself. So not a double compliment, but to see someone who came to you as a trainee be a trainer himself has been an amazing journey.
So without taking the brand names or company names, can you talk about a situation where, you had to, get into the OD part of it to solve a problem, solve a issue?
So this was one company where the kind of job required them to be high on compliance. So they'll be extremely high on compliance, focusing more on the nitty-gritties. But ingrown managers, again, put on that compliance thinking hat only rather than thinking about themselves as leaders and helping to groom the others in the organization. Because of which there was a lot of unhappiness in the team. There was no coercion. There was no team bonding. People went about doing their job without actually thinking about what they were doing. It was more by rote. And there were a lot of gaps in communication that started creeping in and affecting the compliance part itself, which was very important. So that came to me as a challenge, and the entire team is kind of totally disoriented. They're not functioning well. There's a lot of dysfunctions going on. And that is when we did an assessment to understand what the challenge was. And almost all of them were high in that area of compliance. So we had to plan a series of interventions along with coaching each and everyone that this could be your natural style. Being compliant is your natural style since you've been in that area for about 12, 15 years. But as managers, what is expected of you is a totally different style. You had to be more on influencer and more a driver to get work done. And we had to coach them in the behavioral change. This is not just an OD intervention, but trying to change someone's behavior into a totally, and believe me, being compliant and being influencer are totally opposite behavioral characteristics. So helping them understand the difference and taking steps to reach that particular area, which is what the organization wanted, was one intervention which I think is a memorable one for me.
Superb. So, Arthi, we also have some rapid fire questions so that audience can connect with you well. we know more about Arthi.
Sure.
Are you all set?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this answer might be very easy, but who in your life brings you most of the joy?
Myself.
Okay, that's surprising.
You want me to explain that?
Yeah, please, because I was expecting Preeti as an answer, but
See, I think we need to take the ownership of joy or sadness. The minute I take ownership that I'm responsible for my happiness, it is completely in my control. Now, jokingly, we used to ask, how come there are no hammam moms? The loving, kind moms you see in all these hammam ads, we don't see them at home. And the main reason is because all the children are like the children that come in the hammam ads. They are pains in the wrong place. Though I love my daughter, I can give you multitude examples where, I felt like tearing my hair. But after some time, I realized I could look at all her antics and stand and smile because I know 20 years from now, when I reflect on this, I'm going to smile. Why do I get upset right now? So why not start enjoying it right now? So I took a pause. A little bit of attitude change was necessary. And today when she does something, I laugh with her. So that happiness is something which I had to tune myself to. She's a child. She will behave like this. Let me be the adult was a conscious decision that I had to take. And that's why when you ask me this question, the person that brings the most happiness to myself is myself because I decide to.
Super. Today is World's Laughter Day. Okay, so what makes you laugh out, or when was the last time you laughed out loud?
I mean, I've done it so many times, I really can't think of a particular incident as such. I'm sorry, I'll have to let that question go because I don't have an answer to it.
Okay, who had the biggest impact as a person, because of you?
Because of me?
Yeah.
I would say it's a person by name Deepa. The girl who I said who got married.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she would be. I've seen her as a child, and there's a lot of conversations we have had together, which is, I would say, I think she took on a more practical approach to life. From the child she was, I've seen the woman she is right now, and I think a lot of conversations we've had an impact in her.
Okay. Next question: what is the most annoying habit someone can have? So, as a behavior, coach. What is the most annoying thing that you see? I mean, without taking names, you would have seen somebody doing.
I would probably say two things. One is time management. If you ask me to be here at 8, I'll be here at 7:30 at least. So for me, then time management is a personal habit which I want people to follow. But another thing which I'm finding very upsetting right now is people not understanding another person's challenge.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Today, we have the privilege of having a laptop and being able to have a conversation. I know a temple nearby where the pujari's son does not have a mobile phone, so he's not able to go to school. I don't think I should compare my daughter getting the knowledge with that particular child, because that child did not have the basis needed. So somewhere I feel that I'm always looking at things from my perspective, saying if I'm able to dress up for a Zoom call, why can't you? If I'm able to have a Zoom call in complete silence, how come you don't even have your video switched on? There are still a lot of us, especially since I'm in training, I know people who have their video switched off simply because they have a 1-bedroom flat and there'll be a lot of people walking in and out. We just can't help it. I'm talking about small things. If you're able to understand and empathize, it will have a huge impact on the society. And that not having empathy, especially when the person is well-read, mature, and has a lot of exposure, for me is irritating right now.
Yeah, good point. Very, very valid point. There's a lot of thought process, because the common conclusion we have, assumption we have is the other guy wants to just lazy around, so that's the reason they have the video turned on. So those assumptions are wrong. You love traveling, but you did not get a lot of time to travel. But what was the most beautiful place that you visited?
I fell in love with Kodaikanal. Kodaikanal, in a way, represents freedom for me. The first time on my own, it was not even in my post-graduation. In my college, we had gone there for a tour. And I think the climate, the clouds, the kind of
definitely beautiful
fauna, and more importantly, my freedom. I was on my own. I've always loved to be independent. So though I had my friends, I think for the first time I was away from my parents' hold. I was on myself. There was so much to explore. So down anytime. In fact, I did just before the lockdown. I went to Kodaikanal with my daughter because I wanted that to be the very first place the two of us would sit together. So anytime it would be Kodaikanal.
So how do you spend your free time in a day, your regular day? What gets the priority when you're free?
Unfortunately, right now, there is no concept called free time. I've become a slave to my daughter. I am at her beck and call. Between work, so I kind of keep between 11 and 7 for work. I don't, do anything else. So the minute I'm done at 7, she needs my attention. But however, I have this passion for public speaking, and I am a Toastmaster, as I told you. And whatever time I'm able to allocate beyond my daughter and my work, I allocate it for Toastmasters.
Okay, this is going to be tough. Your best friend from elementary school?
My mother.
Okay.
I want to be honest here and say, if you ask me about my school friends, I don't have school friends. You're talking to someone who was an introvert. Mainly because I could not communicate in my second standard. You might think it's not a big deal, but it had a huge impact. From a matriculation school, I moved into a convent from my first standard to my second standard. It was a drastic move where in my matriculation school, they taught English and Tamil, the regional language. And suddenly I was expected to completely talk in English and I could not. So there was this huge gap. And though I had friends, I was not the outspoken person who I am actually. I became a shell. I was in a shell. I turned into someone who was not. And that continued for a lot of, through my adult life. Even in college, if you ask me, do I have a friend from college? No, I don't. Only after getting into the workforce, getting into training, improving my confidence. By the way, I was 126 kilos.
Oh my God.
I'll send you a photograph later, but right now what you're seeing is about 78 kilos. And I think that weight added to this all, worked on my confidence. So one, I improved my communication. I became good in communications. I became a trainer. So that took care of that particular area. And then I worked on losing my weight. I went through a surgery called bariatrics. But again, a decision where I said I wanted a change and I'm doing it. And this I had to do in spite of a lot of people not being okay with it. I fought for it. I said, I'm going through it. I went through it. I lost weight. My communication improved. I became a trainer. I became a public speaker. And then I realized, I could talk to people without feeling bad. But the one person who's always said yes, be it, me wanting to travel for my work. I had to travel for work. My mom was okay with it. The surgery, my mom was okay with it. My adoption, my mom was okay with it. Even right now, I'm holding a kind of an important position in Toastmasters. So I kind of spoke to her and said, this is a 4-year journey for me in Toastmasters, the leadership run. And I will not be available for many things to take care of my daughter. Are you okay with it? Only then will I venture into this. And she said, go ahead. So my support, my friend, it's always been my mother.
Super. Yeah, good one. So what's your favorite season and why?
I live in Chennai, so all the seasons are hot, hotter, and hottest. But if I had to pick one, I love the rainy season. There is nothing more joyous than just going out into the rain and playing and enjoying yourself and completely losing consciousness of who you are. You lose your age. It's just fun. And rain in India at least symbolizes a lot of growth. In spite of the devastation we've seen, I think without rain, life is worse than with rain. So the rainy season, very short span in Chennai, but still that's my favorite season.
What's really important for Arthi in life? Or Arthi's success mantra?
I would never be okay with me not trying. I'm okay to try and fail, but not trying is never an option with me. Whatever the chance it is, I would always say yes, try, succeed. If not succeed, use it as a learning and try once again. But I would never not try. That's one of the reasons I think I've been quite successful.
Super. Thank you, Arthi. So I'm done with the rapid fire questions. So before we end the show, any suggestion you have for the people out there based on your experience in psychology, dealing with people, behavioral management, managing organizations in the current scenario? Any suggestion for people who are watching this?
2 things. One, I think we will have to make sure we follow things like traffic signals, walking on the side of the road facing the oncoming traffic if there is no platform. Small things which we were taught in school. And well, today I try follow it, but I make sure my daughter follows it. The reason being that lays the basis for discipline in your life. If I don't trust you, I will go ahead and say, hey, you know what? I don't trust Ravi. But when I don't trust myself, it turns as confidence. If I can't trust myself enough that if I keep my alarm at 5, I get up at 5. I don't trust. So I keep my alarm at 4:30 because I know I will snooze it 5 times. So what is happening? Indirectly, I'm telling myself I'm not trustworthy. I need backups, which will cause us to fail. I always tell my trainees, there is no word called try. No word called try. It's either yes or no. I will do it, won't do it. Perfectly fine. That's your choice. But don't say I will try, because try is a backdoor entry. If you fail and someone asks you what happened, you're like, I only said I'll try. I never said I'll do it. So you are setting yourself up for failure. Take any one stand, yes or no. And to make sure you're able to take that stand, I think that, when you're young, making sure you follow all the rules, making sure discipline is a part of your life comes from following the small rules that the government has set us, like stopping at red, slowing down at yellow. People don't think it's slowing up, getting ready to cross fast. So even these small rules that we have, whether you're asked to wear a uniform at school, as parents, we should make sure we encourage or we go with the rules that the children will have to follow. If we crib about the rules, they understand the rules can be broken. So that groundwork which we are laying is extremely important, and that makes a huge difference. And I've personally seen it in my life. You will never find me breaking a rule. If I had to go 3 kilometers and take a U-turn rather than driving on the wrong side of the road, I will still take the 3 kilometers. People make fun of me, but I'm okay with it. I'm not bothered, because that is who I am. And that's helped me. Today, I don't need an alarm to wake up at 4. If I decide at 4 and keep my alarm at 4, I'll wake up by 3:45. That's the level of confidence that I have. And I think that's extremely important. That is the one thing that I would love to leave the audience with. And the second thing, ask. Never assume, especially when you want something, you ask. The universe is willing to give it to us in some form. You will never get it in the form that you want, but you will always get it provided we ask for it. So yes, these are the two things that I would like to share.
Good one, Arthi. Very nice conversation. I really loved the conversation, and you're doing great with, especially 100 marks for what the decision which you have taken with respect to adopting the girl child. So thanks a lot again for joining us. So friends who are watching this, we will share the social handles where Arthi is there. Do encourage her for what she is doing. And I'm sure once we are connected on social media, we'll also see how Preeti is growing up and how she is doing in life. So again, thanks a lot, Arthi, for joining us on the show. Have a great evening.
My pleasure, Ravi. Thank you so much. And I think the conversation had come out really well. It's thanks to all the brilliant questions that you asked. Thank you, and wishing all of you a wonderful rest of the Sunday and a great life ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys.